Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to That's Football. This is your latest transfer news on this Sunday morning, and things are definitely looking up for Liverpool. In fact, there is a battle, a question to be had. Maybe you can answer it in the comments. Who is having the better transfer window at the moment? Is it Liverpool or is it Arsenal? Because Liverpool are about to be handed a massive boost. Szoboszlai and McAllister, I think, are good signings. I think there's an untapped wealth of talent in that Liverpool front line that will really be enhanced by a midfield that can provide for it. When you think about Salah, Nunez, Jota, Diaz, Gakpo, I think they have got the talent in the attack if they can, sort that midfield out. And it looks like they're going to be able to do that even more than they thought. Fabinho off to Saudi Arabia, Jordan Henderson still potentially off to Saudi Arabia, but the boost in cash they will get by selling those players for the money they will get means that they can now move for a player that they wanted anyway, but were sort of backing off because of the price, Lavia from Southampton. Now, there is talk that there are other options. There's Gravenberch, a player I really like at Bayern Munich, but there's also Amrabat, which is a player that Man United want. But if I'm being completely honest, I think United are looking at Amrabat because he's below 30 million quid. United would like to be looking at Declan Rice or Caicedo. They can't afford him. So for Liverpool, if you go for Amrabat, he's a good player, but I think, again, it's a price thing. Liverpool's priority surely has to be to utilise this extra cash they're going to get from Fabinho and maybe Henderson and go for the player that they actually want, which is Lavia. So there was talk of Caicedo. I think that's a Chelsea deal. I don't know why it's taking so long, but I think that's a Chelsea deal. But Lavia for Liverpool looks like he will be the player once this cash clears from Saudi Arabia. You'd expect that to happen really quickly. And whoever Liverpool are going for in that midfield, you would expect it to happen really quickly, because when Liverpool have got the money and the focus, they do move swiftly. And when you look at that from a Liverpool point of view, yes, Arsenal with Timber, Rice and Havertz have strengthened a squad that came second last year and pushed Man City for most of the season. But Liverpool with Szoboszlai, McAllister and Lavia into that midfield, and Fabinho and potentially Henderson going, I think it revolutionises Liverpool's midfield options. Of course, they've got to settle and do well, but I think it's really interesting how that could work. And I think that Liverpool and Arsenal at the moment, you can't predict how a season's going to work because obviously we've had no game time yet, but you can predict based on, the status of the clubs and the business that they're doing and the managers that they have. And I think that Liverpool and Arsenal at the moment would be reasonably optimistic about next season and very happy with the business they've done so far. And it may not be the end, certainly not for Arsenal. I still think maybe even Arsenal could move for Lavia. You just never know with Arsenal. They've had a very, very good window. On to other clubs. Harry Kane we'll talk about in a moment, but just something to keep an eye on. I've been mentioning this for a while on the United stand. Frenkie de Jong, Manchester City. There's a story this morning, I forget where it's coming from, but it's basically talking about a potential swap deal. If Barcelona wants a player, they'll look at something like this. Frenkie de Jong, Man City, Bernardo Silva, Barcelona is basically the story. I think there's a lot of moving parts there. I mean, Bernardo Silva's been looking to switch out of Man City for a while now, and you could see why he would want to go to a Barcelona or a PSG. But Manchester City, Frenkie de Jong, Bernardo Silva's not a bad deal, is it? But it will all depend on how truthful Barcelona are being about Frenkie de Jong, because last season they were trying to sell him and they kept him. For the last few weeks and months we've heard he's unsellable and he's a massive part of their plans, so they'll probably sell him. Just keep an eye on it. I think that Man City's window isn't done yet. I think that they've obviously lost a significant player in Gundogan. I believe they've signed a good player in Kovacic. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's more to come from Manchester City. Very settled team. They're obviously going to be one of the favourites, if not the favourites. But just keep an eye on Man City. I still think that there might be some major outgoing and incoming still to come with them. And the challenges for everybody, as we said, with Liverpool and Arsenal to stick with them. On the Harry Kane story, we mentioned PSG there. Apparently PSG would be very interested in Harry Kane, in joining the race for Harry Kane if Harry Kane gave an indication he wanted to go to PSG. I don't know what Harry Kane's intention is But what I would say is, if I'm Harry Kane, I understand the Bayern Munich attraction. I don't really understand the PSG attraction, in all fairness. The league, look, Bayern Munich will win the Bundesliga, but the French league, I don't know. I don't know. Get in the comments again. If you had the choice between PSG and Bayern, where would you go? Bayern just feels more authentic, I suppose that might be a word. More credible, maybe. In many ways, they're very similar. You know, they dominate their domestic league and they haven't won a Champions League for a while. But I just think that Bayern Munich have obviously, they've got the Thomas Tuchel thing. I just think Bayern Munich's the right choice for Harry Kane, and I don't see PSG. I mean, I think PSG could fight Bayern Munich for him, but I don't think Harry Kane will give them the thumbs up that he wants that move over Bayern Munich. And it is looking more and more like he's going to go to Bayern Munich, by the way. I know we keep mentioning this throughout the summer, and there's a lot of people out there that think he'll end up staying at Spurs. But more and more, it looks like that there is a deal there to be done. And that just makes it really interesting for Spurs because, sorry to yawn this morning, I was out late last night. It makes it really interesting for Spurs because you speak to a lot of Spurs fans and they're like, well, even if we get 80 million, what are we going to spend that on? You know, it won't be Harry Kane. There's not many world-class strikers out there, but he's going to go for nothing in a year. And I don't think even with Harry Kane's goals, you'll get top six anyway. So I think I get it. I get why they don't want Kane to go because they'd like to keep him for another year and he's world-class and he's a legend of the club. But ultimately, I don't think the year you're going to get out of him is going to make any difference to the year without him. I think it's the difference between 7th and 9th, maybe. I don't think he puts you in the top six anyway. But what it does do is it starts that rebuild a year early, and it starts that rebuild with 80 million quid instead of nothing. So logically, I think Spurs should do the deal, but I think they should have done it quicker. I think they should have done it a bit quicker. I think if that's the decision, you don't want to be doing this at the end of July with the season starting in early August. But it is looking more and more like that could happen. And I do expect more business to be done as well. I mean, look, Chelsea's been a little bit quiet. Man United's been quiet. Newcastle, some people expected them to do a little bit more as well. But I think Liverpool and Arsenal at the moment are showing the most. It doesn't mean they will be, but they're showing the most intent at the moment to be the team that goes and fights Manchester City or tries to fight Man City. And Saudi Arabia's had a big impact on this transfer window, and it still will have a big impact on this transfer window. And I think if you're one of those clubs that can offload a Fabinho for what you paid for him, when really you wanted to sell him anyway, and then you can use that money to go and get someone like Lavia, I think that's a fantastic deal for Liverpool. So I don't think Liverpool will go for Amrabat. I don't think they'll go for Caicedo. I think they'll go for the player that they wanted, which is Lavia, that they didn't really feel they could afford. But now with the Fabinho money, it makes it easier. Because ultimately, you go to Southampton and they say we want £50 million for a 19-year-old who's not played that many games, and you go forget about it. Why would you go back? Because you've just got £40 million for a player that you wouldn't get 20 for. So you've just got a player you've just sold a player in Fabinho for way more than they're worth. That makes it more comfortable to go back to Southampton and give them a little bit more money for a player that you don't think is worth that, if you know what I mean. Anyway, get your comments in below, especially on Liverpool and Arsenal. Who do you think's having the better transfer window at the moment? And who do you think will be the team to challenge Man City? Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Remember, on that road to 1 million, bottom right-hand corner to subscribe. I'll speak to you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, tonight at 5 o'clock, I'm on TalkSport, 5 till 7 o'clock, TalkSport YouTube and National Radio. Mark Goldbridge show. Call in, have your say on all transfers. Thanks for watching.